and welcome to Manifest Positivity. My name is Odera, and I'm talking to people that inspire during tough times, that have a light shining through them, that do more than they ever thought they could do. My guest for today is a role model that I've known since I was 10 years old. She managed to stay positive and carried us through the darkest day of our lives, September 11, 2001. She is none other than my fifth grade teacher, Phyllis.
Yay!
Thank you so much for talking to me, Phyllis.
Of course. I'm so honored to be here with
Thank
you.
you. So, I'm actually very curious. I only know you as a teacher and a mom and a wife, but I would love to hear how you would introduce yourself to people.
Well, I think you just said it right there. Most important thing is my role as a wife and a mom. That's the most important thing. And I'm still an educator, still working in school as a teacher, ready to make my next move and figure out what I want to be when I grow up. Um, but that's mainly how my most important definition as a mom and a wife and a friend. And hopefully, as somebody who's been inspiring many people, and I'm so happy this means so much to me to know that I've meant so much to you that you'd come all the way here to talk with me. So I'm just really grateful.
Of course. So, why teaching? What got you into teaching back in the 90s?
Well, I think my first major in college was sociology. I was just always really interested in people and how people interact with one another. And then I majored in psychology. And again, I was just interested in like why people are acting the way that they are. And I had a horrible professor my first year in college, and he wrote the textbook that he used for the class and would be like, okay, hello, and start the day off by like literally reading from his own textbook. And I was really turned off, and somehow it just led me to switch majors to education. I used to play school when I was little with my friend Cindy and forced my little sister to be my student and all her friends. So I was just always kind of teaching. And somehow I decided I want to be a teacher, and then moved colleges to be able to do so.
Wow.
And started teaching in Colorado, and then was really cold in college and moved to Florida and got certified to teach there, and eventually moved to New York, became certified there to teach as well, and many years later moved to Philly, and now I'm certified and I'm teaching here.
How long were you teaching when I met you in fourth grade?
That was my New York stint, so I was already teaching. I was only, I don't know, maybe like 25 then, so not that long. So only just a couple years. That was like really my first teaching job where I had my own class. Yeah, I basically just went around to different schools and just introduced myself. And the old principal, Sheila Dolan from Bridges, was the first person to respond to me. I just moved to New York because I had been in a long distance relationship with Andy from Miami to New York. I just moved. And I got a job right away, and it was the best school ever. It was a perfect little intimate environment. We only had a couple grades, a couple classes. It was really wonderful. I was so lucky.
And I had so much fun there as well. That's awesome. So, we have a Facebook group that we all shared how inspiring you were to us. You taught us reading, you made us fall in love with writing. I personally believe you developed my creative writing skills, my communication skills. Like, the reason why I'm here right now is the confidence you instilled in me. Did you was that your aim when you set out to start teaching, to transform students? Did you believe that it would be so impactful, or it would come out this amazing?
I guess so. I mean, I guess that's what my initial goal was. I was probably just trying to figure out what I wanted to do with myself, and that seemed like the most natural trajectory. And I really did just want to make an impact in the world somehow. I still haven't figured out exactly where that's going to be. I always just felt kind of guilty in a way of like how privileged I was growing up and how lucky I was to have an amazing family and to have so many opportunities. So I always felt like I wanted to give back in some way. So teaching just kind of made sense to me because I love kids, and I was so young then, and my memory is not great. So it's hard for me to even remember like what I taught back then,
Mm-hmm.
because I was so young and it was so new. I think I was just kind of survival mode. But to know
Wow.
that it meant something to you, and to know a few others that we still keep in touch with, really, it means the world, because that is what it's all about as a teacher. You hope that you're leaving some kind of legacy or some kind of memory to at least one student, in some way to make a meaningful change. So, yeah, it's really wonderful. And if I can continue to do that now, and as I mentioned, we were speaking earlier, I'm really hoping to move into the next chapter of my life and work with adults and maybe have even a greater impact.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I'm in a teaching role now in fifth grade. I'm still literally still teaching fifth grade. Up until this
Wow.
year, I finally told my principal this year I needed a change. So I'm teaching a college and career readiness class to kindergarten
Ooh.
through eighth grade, and I have little kids for the first time. I never taught little kids. It's the
Wow.
best part of my whole day. It's the last
Wow.
class of the day, and we have stuffy dance parties with our little stuffed animals, and it's just exposing them and all the older kids to all the possibilities in the world, and all the
Wow.
different, we're working on the different career clusters and just exposing them to the possibilities. And I'm really hoping that in another 20 years, I'll have another student come back to me and say, I was able to do this because of what you introduced me to. That would be really meaningful.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So, you carried us through a very dark time,
Mm-hmm.
September 11, 2001, and I was just 9, going on 10 at the time. I didn't understand the gravity of what happened. I don't think I even really fully understood the gravity until like the 20th anniversary of September 11th. But now, as an adult myself, way past 25,
Mm-hmm.
way past 25, and understanding like what life is about, how depressing, how heavy that situation was. We never saw you falter. We never saw you struggle. You look so put together. You helped us. You propped us up. You always had a smile. You kept our classroom so bright and cheerful. Even when we were evacuated, even in the day, you managed to keep us together, keep everything together. How did you manage to stay so positive, and how do you manage to stay so positive?
I think we were just in shock, all of us. I remember you were the first person, because you had come in a little bit late and you had come up the stairs and told us that you had seen things falling from the building. And we later learned they were actually human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And you were the first person that really made me think, okay, something really bad is happening. But the first thing I remember was Ben. I don't know if you remember Ben Sherry in our
Mm-hmm.
class. He had a fascination with planes, and
Mm-hmm.
we saw that first plane so low, right above
Mm-hmm.
us, and he was so fascinated. He was so like, wow, the thing I love the most in the world is right there. We heard it, we saw it, and it was like joy. And then to see how by the end of the day, he was the last person to be picked up,
Oh
and he was
no.
just laying. Eventually, we had run through the streets and made our way
Mm-hmm.
back to PS3 in the village, and he was laying on the floor of the gym with his face literally on the floor with just tears coming out of his eyes, not saying anything,
Oh.
just kind of staring. And I was so depressed by how something that he was so excited about, something that brought him so much joy and excitement, became something that was the source of such destruction and death.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see how his brain was just reacting to it, not able to really process. As you said, I don't think any of us were really able to process the enormity of it until 20 years later, and we all just kind of were going through the motions. And I wasn't really taking it, I don't think we realized how serious it was. Even when you did say that, told us what you saw, I still think I was just kind of in mode like, okay, let's move on. Let's read a great story. Let's focus on a story. I really remember just like reading a lot of stories on the rug and just trying to distract everybody. And that's what we do as adults. You just try to shield people from difficult situations. So I
Mm-hmm.
was just in mode of like action mode. Let's just keep moving on. Let's move forward, and we're not going to dwell. And then until we got the knock on that door and the policeman was there to escort us out, and they brought us to a stairwell in the building that I had never seen before.
Emergency
The
stairwell.
emergency stairwell that was hidden. I had never even known it was there. And then it was bad timing because as soon as we got out, onto the street, that's immediately when the building was falling. So I remember just running up the street and trying to keep everybody together like little ducks behind me. Um, and I remember a lot of us crying, and Linda was there and she was yelling at our kids to stop crying because we were scaring her little first graders. And that's the things that I remember are kind of random. And it was terrifying. But again, I was just kind of like in mode. Like I knew that I needed to do what a parent would need me to do. It was just to like take care of these kids immediately. And we made it to safety. None of our phones were working, so we weren't able to communicate with parents. Somehow they knew where we had gone to PS3. I have no idea how. And one by one, parents kept coming to find their students. And it wasn't until Ben left, because he was the last one. As soon as my students were gone, then it was like, oh my God, wait, what's happening? Then I became terrified.
Wow.
I became scared, and I had to get home. And none of the trains, of course, were working. But it wasn't until then that I was like, okay, wait, now I'm really scared. And I remember for some crazy reason, I was wearing like flip-flop sandals, and one of them totally snapped and broke. And I walked into the shoe store, and I was just like, please help me. I don't have any shoes. And he was like, no, I can't fix your shoe right now. This is not the time. So I had to get home with one flip-flop.
Wow.
And we had to walk, and we had to go over the bridge. And that was really the scariest part, because rumor through the streets was now that they've, you know, there was like a coordinated effort. That one plane was like, okay, in my brain I could think it was accidental. But once there was like two planes, I realized it really was a coordinated effort. And the word on the street was, now that that happened, they're going to bomb the bridges. They're going to bomb the bridges. So we're standing, there's thousands of people standing at the edge of the bridge.
Like, do we go on?
Do we go? Do we not? Do we go? Do we not? And it was terrifying. And eventually we went. I went with a little group that I had somehow bonded with in emergency situations. Those things happen. And I decided to go, but I remember every minute of being on that bridge, just terrified that something else was going to happen. And somehow at the end of the bridge, my husband was there. I have no idea how he knew to be there or what, but he was there, and I found him. I have no idea how, and we walked together back to our home with debris flying through the air in Brooklyn. It's all the way, you know, in Brooklyn there was still debris flying. And he was my little safe place. And I didn't see you guys for weeks. I don't think we went back to school for a long time. And then we were at PS3 for a while, and they had to find room for everybody. We were in the library.
We were like
in a
5 schools packed in that building.
Packed in that building on the random 5th floor. And I would come to school every morning, and mice were eating all my anchor charts, the papers. There was like mice everywhere. But we did get a visit from
Bill and Hillary Clinton.
Bill
I
and
do remember
Hillary
that.
Clinton. That was unbelievable.
Do we have pictures of that? Because I'm like,
Somebody must.
I remember when Hillary was, I'm like, hey, I've met her before, and everyone was looking at me like I was crazy. I'm like, no, really? Like
in our actual classroom.
Yes. I wonder.
They actually kissed. Do you remember that? Like,
Yeah,
he was there first, and I think she surprised him, or
Yes.
vice versa.
Because she was like running for office. She was about to run for New York senator, I think. Yeah, so she showed up. That was really interesting.
That was memorable.
Yeah, that was really
So, you know, but we got to meet the Clintons, so some things
something
turned out.
good came out of that. And I remember when we got back to our building, I was interviewed by the Post.
Yes. Completely forgot about that. Do you have that? I'd love to see
My
that.
mom has a clipping. I don't know where she's put it now, but she did have a clipping. I remember she brought it out when we were in Nigeria. She's like, hey, you remember this?
I forgot all about that.
Yeah. So that was interesting. But I really want to thank you. I don't know if I ever got to thank you. I'm sure my mom has probably thanked you, but I really want to thank you. On behalf of our entire 5th grade class. Like, you were such a light. Even like past that day, even before that day, you were always like this bright, shiny light in my memory. And then after that, like, you maintained that bright positivity. And when I started this, you were somebody that came to mind. Like, what does positivity mean to you? Like, you embody positivity to me, but what does positivity mean to you?
That's a hard one, but I think it just means making a choice. Like, we always have a choice to think of the simple image of a glass half empty or a glass half full. And like I said, I guess it always goes down to like my gratitude and appreciation for who I was born to, my amazing parents, and where I was born, and the opportunities that I was given. Um, I just choose to, I have to make that conscious effort to be positive, because I really truly believe that what you think, you manifest. And
Amen.
it's not like I was born that way. I had to really practice and learn and go through some difficult times. But I think that we really do have a choice. And if I can make that choice for myself, it makes everything better around me, because then I make other people feel good. And ultimately that comes back to me. And that's not why I'm doing it. But we're all just here for such a short time that I just want to be somebody that can be a source of comfort, because I know how scary and uncomfortable the world can be. So I just try to be, outside of my classroom right now, I have a sign that says, "Welcome to the Zen Zone." And a friend at school calls me ZM, the Zen Master. So it's like there's a lot of, I work in North Philadelphia, which is a difficult environment, very difficult. And I just want to be an opportunity to just have a chance to breathe. This is what I really work on, a lot of meditation with my students, just literally teaching them how to take a deep breath and to learn how to use your breath to calm your nervous system, to calm your mind, your body, because they really do just need simple strategies and just breathing. If that's all I teach them, and that's all I teach them to do, and I'll literally stand in my classroom when they're talking and not listening and just be like, and then someone will try to say, and I'll be like, "No, wait, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to talk yet. I need one more breath," and I'll stop and literally just show them, and hopefully I'm just modeling for them like how it works. And how with the little kids, I'll actually, we'll do a couple rounds of exercise, and I'll say, "Okay, now feel your heartbeat." And then we'll sit down and we go to the Calm app. There's a breathing bubble. It goes big for blue, it goes bigger, and so it's like a visual and an auditory stimulation, but it's a way for kids to really learn that they are in control of at all times. They're in control of their body, their breath, and they're in control of their mind and their choices that they're making. So hopefully, by me showing them how to recenter and to come back with love and positivity, hopefully they'll be able to do that too. But it's not always easy, of course.
Yeah.
Not always easy to be positive. I have spent years practicing.
That's cool.
Therapy, exercise,
Meditation.
meditation, a lot of walks in the woods with my dog buddy, and just learning how to ground myself and be centered and to really know what's important and to let go of the things that are not
Serving.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. So you seem pretty successful to me, but for you, what does success look like when you grow up?
I don't know. I mean, I'm a teacher, so it's not like financial success is really what I'm after. That's not really happening. Success is just like feeling like I've done what I've been meant to do. And again, I still don't really know what that is. I'm still searching, and I really believe that the work I do with my nonprofit for girls in Kenya is really so meaningful to me, and that's something I'm really hoping to be able to spend more time on. So, making significant impact and really feeling like I'm doing something that's going to live on beyond me. So maybe my future will be helping the adults and parents of the students that I have. Maybe it will be, I just applied for a position as a consulting teacher. It was like a new teacher mentor. Actually, I have an interview for that on February 8th.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, I'm getting ready to move out of the classroom and to work with adults, to work with new teachers and hopefully parents as well. So I think I've had my time in the classroom. It has been such an amazing opportunity this year to work K to 8 because I have been able to now work with little kids. As I mentioned, it is a whole different world, especially since my own children are older. I really just appreciate these little tiny innocent sweet people. They're so cute. So I don't know. I mean, the idea of success to me is just being content, I guess, and comfortable. And I'm definitely comfortable. I have an amazing husband and children and family. And sure, I'd love to own a home one day. Sure, I'd love to, have enough money to not worry about my kids' education. But that's not success for me. In my mind, it's really just feeling like I've done what I'm meant to be doing on this earth.
I have to ask you to talk a little about your nonprofit work. I
Sure.
would love to hear more about that.
Sure, yeah, it's called IFA, the Alliance for Improved Public Health in Africa.
Ooh.
And people ask me how I got involved, and I honestly don't even know. I'm the only person on the board. There's 8 of us. I'm the only person that's never been to Africa.
Wow.
All of them have been there before, so they've created a connection to the continent and to the culture. Um, I just support a lot of different people. And a friend of mine had a yoga studio and did some work with the Africa Yoga Project. They would send teachers here over to Africa to like teach people in Africa, like to train them as teachers. Um, and so somebody was doing that and posted something about a gentleman named Samson who was coming here from Africa, and he's into yoga. And I was like, oh, Samson, I have a son named Samson. What's he all about? So somehow I started researching him, and I started supporting him a little bit in addition to some other organizations in Rwanda that I support. So I got to know him, and he started this organization called Humanor Kenya, and he brings compost toilets to rural schools, and we started supporting him. And then I guess through Samson, he introduced me to a couple of other people here in America that were interested in starting a nonprofit, and he brought me in. And it's been about 6 years now, and we just completely changed directions from just giving organizations that are already there money to supply students with. First, it was sanitation kits for girls so they could be in school and not be excluded during the menstruation. And then we supplied COVID supplies during the pandemic, and shoes and just basic needs like that, and supporting Humanor Kenya. But then we started to think that we wanted to do something a little bit more meaningful that might have a lasting impact on the communities. So we thought about, well, education. And especially because I'm a teacher, we thought about a scholarship program. And so we came up with 11 girls through our organization that we work with, and our amazing friend Agnes Odera. So she helped us to identify 11 girls that would be that have a need, a strong desire, and would somehow be probably willing to or able to give back to their community in some way, and somehow were aligned with our mission of public health. So we had 11 girls apply, and we chose 4. Unfortunately, we were only able to take 4 this time. So I couldn't even watch. When Agnes went to deliver the news to acceptance of the 4 girls, she also brought the other 7 girls together at their primary school. They're just finishing up 8th grade. They just finished 8th grade. I couldn't even get through the video because I felt so bad. It made me really emotional to see them not get this opportunity. So I felt so bad I couldn't even watch the video. But I did go back and focus on each one of them because I still want to give them another opportunity. A lot of them are repeating the 8th grade, so who knows, it might not be the end, and hopefully we'll still be able to help them in some way. But we did give them a lot of supplies like math books and journals and some great writing utensils, and I got to see their joy just from those gifts alone. Wow. So that was good. But so we did have Agnes go to each of the 4 girls' homes, and we had an opportunity to meet their families and see where they have come from, and to see what it means to their parents and their siblings and to their community as a whole, to give these girls the opportunity to go to high school without having to worry about any of the fees and any of the logistics. Wow. So that was really amazing. And as I said, it was really funny to hear. I made a video for each of the girls to congratulate them, and we have a video of them listening to the video of me, and it just felt really funny to hear me talking in the background of a Maasai village in Kenya. So obviously I need to go.
Of course, you need to come to Nigeria. I think I was like your first introduction to Africa.
Yeah.
And so we partially have a connection to
yeah,
Africa.
maybe you should take me there,
I will
because
take
I
you.
can't really go myself to Kenya. I don't know anything about the
take you.
continent, and I definitely need a guide.
This is the point of the interview where you have the opportunity to ask me one question, since I've been rattling off this whole time. So.
Well, that's a good segue, actually, because I wanted to ask you about Nigeria, and you said that the first time that you went when you were 9. I wanted to know, not in general what a Nigeria is like, but what it meant for you to go there, what it has meant for you to go back there, like some of the maybe like most important lessons that you have learned about yourself or about life or about America or something that you have
Ooh.
brought back that maybe you want to pass on to girls here or
Oh wow.
maybe
Oh
to
my
the next
God.
generation or
I'm afraid my camera might go off again. I'll be here talking forever. Moving to Nigeria right after the fifth grade. So I thought I was going to middle school, but my mom was really traumatized from 9/11. She really did not want to be in America a single second longer. So our graduation was like in June,
yeah.
and I was in Nigeria in July.
Wow.
Yeah, instantly. And at first I was gutted. I'm like, I was looking forward to going to middle school. All my friends, I only ever knew America and New York, you
Yeah.
know. And then I skipped a grade, and it was boarding school. I went straight into boarding school. I left Manhattan straight to boarding school in Nigeria.
I don't think I ever knew that.
Nope, uniforms. It was a Christian, all girls boarding school with cold water coming out of the showers. We had to wash our own clothes, clean our own rooms. And I had not done any of that ever
No.
before. So I was like traumatized. I bawled. I legit tell you the entire 6 years of what was supposed to be high school day, I cried for my mommy every single, even when I was a senior, even when like I was at the end of it all, I would still be like, I want my mommy because
Oh.
this is crazy. I cried a lot. I was bullied a lot because I didn't understand it. I will never forget my first night there. I went to take a shower because Nigeria is hot. You want to know about Nigeria? It's hot. It's like literally 90-degree weather the entire year.
Okay.
It was really hot, so I went to take a shower and I just jumped in thinking, it's gonna warm up, and the water was freezing. And I remember, oh my God, the water is freezing, and all the girls in the bathroom cracked up. They laughed at me, and the entire first day of class the next day, oh my God, the water is freezing. They were all imitating my American accent. The upperclassmen would call me. They're like, "Are you the girl with the American accent? Do it for us." Do the American accent. You're the American accent girl. Do it for us.
Right, so that's what I'm curious about. What was it like to be the American girl?
Yeah, and I did not like
No.
being the American girl. So after like my first semester, I picked up this very Nigerian accent, and I remember coming back home for Christmas, and my mom is like, "Why are you talking like that?" And it's so funny. Even when my mom wasn't able to visit me in school a lot. My mom was working, and she worked in another state. The capital of Nigeria is Abuja. She went straight into business. So my mom left, and I was with my grandparents. So that was a lot of what was different. I grew up with my grandparents. I stayed with them, and so my grandma or my grandpa or like my cousins would come see me on visiting days or like pick me up. My mom wouldn't come often, so when she finally came, I feel like maybe like a year in, she was looking for me, and she still had her American accent. So everybody like, your mom just came from America. I'm like, my mom just came from. She's definitely, she did not leave me here.
Right.
So
Yeah.
she's definitely been here. And everybody like, oh, your mom's been in America. I'm like, what? What do you mean she's been in America? No, she lives here. Even when I graduated from college, my mom's American accent is kind of still there. And I gave the class speaker speech, and my mom gave the senior awards dinner speech. And they introduced her as my mom from America. And I'm like, this lady has been living here the same amount of time. Why do they still think she's American and I'm not? But that's fine. And I think I really love the culture. I know I cried. I lamented a lot. I didn't like the harshness of boarding school. But in hindsight now, I think it was one of the best decisions my mom could have ever made for me. I love I want to say like the finishing that going to school in Nigeria gave me, because it gave me this new level of respect for myself, this new level of respect for others. That boarding school, we had poise classes, we had manners and how to be a lady and how to talk to people, and respect was such a big thing. You couldn't talk to your elders any kind of way. Carrying yourself in public was such a big thing. And even in college, it was kind of, I went to the American University of Nigeria, but it was still kind of a Nigerian culture that was carried on, and I'm so grateful for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also so grateful for like knowing where I come from, knowing that I have an alternative. When it gets too cold in America, I can go back to north or south of the equator and stay warm. And just I feel like that sense of community was there. That was one thing I did miss when I moved back to the US in 2016. I missed that sense that I could go anywhere in Nigeria, anywhere I don't have to know anybody, but within 5 minutes I'm cracking jokes, like just making friends, or in a public bus, everybody would be laughing, and we have these like tiny buses, and like you could be everybody would just somebody would tell a story, and the whole bus would be laughing, and it would be like we're a family.
Definitely not like that in New York.
Yeah, then it would be
Or
like,
LA.
or LA, and it would be like your family, and and I remember like I could frown or I could cry, and like some random old lady or old man or like auntie or somebody on the street would be like, hey, why are you frowning, like what's wrong, like show concern. Meanwhile, when I moved back to like the city in 2017, I saw somebody bawling their eyes out in the subway, and everybody was looking everywhere but her face, and I'm like, New York is so
different.
scary,
Yeah.
so I learned so much about myself, about my culture, about who I want to be. And so part of what that took away from me is that I really want to use all these skills that I've learned and who I've become to help Nigeria also get to the level of where America is. I feel it has so much to offer. It's just like underdeveloped because of bad leadership. So a big dream of mine is to go back and be a Nigerian senator and kind of like use my American mind and the tips and tricks I've learned from America to kind of add value to Nigeria in that way, so it can develop and grow and prosper like the US. So yeah, Nigeria was really awesome for me. It didn't start off awesome, but ended up awesome.
I have no doubt you will fulfill that dream. But I want to say that I'm so on. I think your mom is amazing, because that's a really difficult thing to do as a parent, to put your child in a difficult situation when ultimately it'll be great, and it's the best thing for them. But it's really painful in the interim. And I think your mom has been inspirational to me as a parent, to know that like sometimes you have to do hard things as a parent. Because it's the best thing, but it really is difficult. Yeah. So I think
I think that's why she kind of avoided me that first year. I feel like everyone may have told her that if she saw me crying and bawling my eyes out, like, save me, like she would have caved and like, okay, don't worry.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
So, my grandma, my grandpa, they did not care for my tears. I'm like, you'll be alright. And then, in perspective, my school was like a really posh, private, expensive boarding school. So the range of kind of like high schools I could have gone to, it was not that bad. So the things that I thought was harsh, it was just harsh in comparison to what I was seeing.
And you were young. You were young, and that was such a drastic change that you didn't want to happen.
But in comparison to the other kind of high schools, like the government high schools that like don't have tables or chairs or any of that, or like good teachers or any type of function, that. So I went to a good school, so like none of my family members felt sorry for me. They're like, you'll be fine. Like your mom put you like the best school ever. Right. You'll be okay. But for my spoiled American mind, I'm like, what is this? But yeah, it turned out really, really good, and I'm really happy that I spent that time with them. I'm glad.
Yeah, I'm glad too. That's amazing that you learned so many things. We don't have classes in poise here. We don't have any classes in like how to function in a society, how to get along with others, how to listen and communicate. It would be a whole different world.
It would be over here, and I feel like that's part of something I want to do even while I'm here. Like maybe bring this to America. Like I've also worked with kids since I've been in the US. I worked with middle schoolers, kindergarten, first grade, and high school. My last job, and I've tried to kind of teach them some of that, some manners and etiquette, some little like type of respect here and there. I try to sprinkle my little Nigerian spice everywhere I go, and I feel like I have made an impact to people. People definitely remember me.
You should jar up that spice and sell it. Sprinkle your love around to everybody. You have such a wonderful affect about you. You're such a beautiful, warm smile, and you really do make people feel so comfortable. And it's so great to see you.
Thank you. Thank you
What a
so much
treat.
for talking to me. I
Of
really
course.
appreciate it. And thank you guys for sitting in on our conversation. This is Manifest Positivity. Please go forth, inspire, be kind, manifest positivity in your daily life. Like, subscribe, share, comment. And thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye.